I'm Katie Dinnis, formerly known as Katie Dinnis. I graduated Bowie High School in 2004, and I would say people would remember me as fun and always looking for a good time and just friendly. In high school, I didn't really think a lot about God. I didn't really care. I was self-absorbed and just not worried about anything but myself. I got into a lot of trouble. I made a lot of bad choices. I skipped school and I smoked pot, and I really struggled and I hated school. I ended up getting in a bad relationship that went really wrong. And during this time, I was told I was worth nothing. I was made to feel worthless. I just felt like I wanted to die. I would cry every day and beg God to just take my life. I didn't understand why He would just let me keep living. I was screwing up. I was disappointing my parents. I felt like it would be better off if I wasn't here. So I started just cutting my wrist. At first, I wanted to kill myself and I just wanted to die, but then it became a way for me to numb me from the emotional pain I was going through. So every time something negative happened, I would just cut myself. And my friends, they cared too much about me to just stand by. So they had noticed I was covering my wrist a lot, and one night they found the cut marks on my wrist and they took me to the hospital where my mom met me. I was forced into counseling and a program that would help me. My mom had taken me to a Christian counselor and they were telling me how much God loved me and He had a plan for me. And in the midst of this, my mom had been praying over me, which I didn't know. She had been praying this verse, Jeremiah 29:11, and it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Throughout counseling sessions, God just started changing my heart, and I started realizing that He has me here for a purpose and a reason, and whether I saw it or not. God has given me grace. Grace is receiving something you don't deserve, and grace is not something I felt I deserved. I was living in sin, and I just didn't care. Yet God still chose to forgive me. He has freed me from the bondage I was in, with wanting to die every day. It was like an addiction. He has changed me from the inside out. My thought life isn't all negative anymore. He has given me hope. He has filled my mind with His promises and what He thinks about me, and that's all that matters. Now this change, it didn't come overnight. It was a struggle for a long time. Over my later years in high school, I had been involved in more incidents, and I can now look back and see that God was trying to get my attention. After my first year of college, I had decided to change my lifestyle. I was tired of the trouble that I was getting in, and I was worn down by the negative things. And I was encouraged by a friend to start making better choices. This friend wasn't your average guy. He was different. He was respectful, he was funny, he was trustworthy, handsome, and he loved his family. We became close friends and we had a lot in common. He had given me advice that I needed to change my life, and it really hit hard with me. I respected him and I decided to make big changes in my life. I ended up marrying this man, which I now call my husband, Seth. I had also realized at this point that it was about having a daily relationship with God that mattered most, and it wasn't just knowing the facts of the Bible. It was at this time that I asked God to forgive me for all I had done, and I asked Him to change me from the inside out. And this time, it really happened. Over the next year, God completely changed my heart, and He showed me that I still had a purpose and a plan on this earth. It was something bigger than myself. The struggles I once felt tied down to, I was freed from. God had substituted my suicidal thoughts with truths of His love. Since high school, there have been a lot of ups and downs. I got pregnant soon after getting married. I was only 19 years old. I was happy and a little shocked all at the same time. He was the most precious baby, and I loved him so much. But I was struggling and I didn't feel happy like I thought I should. It wasn't my son, but it was something in me. For the first 2 years of his life, I felt like I was in survival mode, just trying to get through each day. I couldn't figure out why I was feeling so depressed and overwhelmed with such a sweet baby. I started to feel guilty. Other moms were trying to have babies, and they couldn't. And I was blessed with a son, and here I wasn't happy. Eventually, after God was working on my heart and changing my perspective, I did get through this time. And I really started to sense God's purpose for me being a young mom. It wasn't about me. Now I had a little one to raise up and teach. Not long after this, I had gone to the doctor for some other issues at the time. They had diagnosed me with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. They had said that I wouldn't be able to have children anymore, and that it was a miracle that I had even gotten pregnant to begin with. This gave me an immediate sense of gratitude for the timing of God's blessing that I didn't see before. I couldn't understand the timing, but now there were no questions. He knew what was best. Being a mom is one of the most rewarding jobs, but it'd also be the hardest and happiest times of your life. If I could give advice to someone watching this, it would be to know that you have a Father in heaven who loves you unconditionally. Nothing that you've done in your life is too messed up for Him. He's a big God. He can handle it. He didn't cause the hurt in your life, but He can use it for His good. And if He can change me, He can change anybody. I'm Katie Dinnis, Dinnis. That's my story. What's yours?